Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 9 of the Unqualified Commission podcast.
Yep.
This is Corey.
This is Ryan.
And tonight we have a very, very special guest. We have gotten very blessed and fortunate that we have...
We've been able to talk to this guy here recently, get him a part of our lives.
But we have been fortunate that we have gotten several guests on our show.
Yes.
I'm very glad to see the guest participation very much increased. But Ryan, give us the introduction to who this man is.
Well, there isn't much to say.
There is.
He leaves me speechless.
Oh, So Ryan and I talk about the encounter all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a very good mission that we support here at the Unqualified Commission. We got the opportunity to go to the North Alabama encounter. It's been about 2 weeks now. And the gentleman we're about to introduce you to was a participant of Ryan. Ryan happened to be his server.
The night before the encounter is when he got invited to the encounter. Am I right?
So the gentleman that we would like to introduce you to, his name is Anthony
Stults.
Anthony Stults. I keep messing up his last name, so please forgive me. But Anthony, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Like I said, Anthony has went through an encounter. And I think he got his life changed. You guys had to be there to see it.
Yeah.
We encourage you to come see what Anthony got from the encounter.
If you haven't been to an encounter, we encourage you to come to an encounter.
Absolutely. The next one is coming up is May.
I think, yeah.
May, and it's going to be in Northwest Florida. Of course, email us if you have any questions or would like to attend that. We can certainly help you get registered.
There's encounters in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. There's some coming up in Kentucky eventually.
And we
There's
have
Kansas.
one in Tennessee currently, but they are still trying to work out some of the building issues and some of the staffing issues.
Kansas too, right?
I believe so.
I've never been to a Kansas.
So there's one out there for everyone's liking.
And it's men and women, both.
Men and women, right. So
separate encounters.
So tonight's episode, we have kind of went down a path, and we're going to kind of continue sticking to this path. We didn't do a series on this, but it's kind of fell into how different things have affected lives. And so tonight's episode is the effects of addiction.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, I don't want to share your testimony, and I don't want to take anything from you, but I kind of want to let the audience know you've dealt with addiction yourself, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. So during the pre-show, we all talked, and Anthony has a really awesome testimony that he wants to share tonight, and we're going to give him the opportunity to do so. But addiction takes the flavor. It takes very many forms. There's addiction. There's sex addiction. There's pornography addiction. There's illicit drugs addiction. There's alcohol addiction. There's attention addiction, TV, work addiction,
eating.
Again, addiction comes into very many forms, and we're just here to kind of hit on the surface here what the effects of addiction can be and what affects.
Maybe later on we can dive deeper into these topics.
Right, and so we don't want you to get discouraged if we didn't hit on your addiction.
We're sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry. We can't. We only have a certain amount of limited time. But Anthony, I want you kind of introduce yourself. I want you to give us a little bit of information about. Just tell your audience, who you are, where you came from. A little bit about yourself.
Your social security number?
Yeah, please don't.
Most definitely not. But yeah, I am from Florence, Alabama. I'm 23 years old. I was born and raised in Florence, Alabama. I've never lived anywhere else besides Florence, so that's really the only town I know. But yeah.
So have you had the opportunity to travel much outside of Florence, or have you been pretty localized to Florence most of your life?
I mean, I've been pretty localized. To Florence. I went to rehab in Opelika, Alabama, which is right there at Auburn.
But so pretty much Alabama has been your pretty much homegrown roots, pretty much your whole life.
Pretty much.
Anthony and I have very different stories. As I got to travel the world, got to travel all over the states. So he has very different perspective on life than what I have. I've kind of seen a lot more than he has, but that doesn't mean that he's any less of a person. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that we have different pair of
Different
lenses,
outlooks.
different outlook that we look through. And see, this is what we want to do to the show: is we want to kind of bring different personalities and different lenses,
Diversify. A little
diversity
bit,
on our show. So you were born and raised in Florence, pretty much raised there your whole life, hasn't left much. So, can you tell us a little bit about like your home life, or kind of where it all began, or like are your parents together? I'm not trying to get too personal here, but just a little bit about your personal life.
Okay, so my home life, growing up, I lived at the age 3. I moved in with my grandparents. My mom left me in a hotel room. I was running 103 temperature, and I managed to get out the door, and then I don't know who had called my grandparents, but anyways, they ended up coming to get me, and
So I assume that your mother was dealing with struggles of addiction.
cocaine.
Cocaine. So Anthony and I have very similar testimony in that my biological mother abandoned me for substance abuse. So I think that's where a lot of our kindred spirit comes from. But so you lived with your grandparents. Was it all of your life, or most of your life, or all your childhood life?
They adopted me at 4, and from 4 to 18, I think, straight out of high school. From there, I moved to my dad's. I was really defiant with them. I didn't want to listen to him, so my grandpa got tired of it. He got so tired of it, he had to pull a gun on me to tell me to leave because I was being so defiant and disrespectful.
But your grandparents took pretty good care of you during that time when you were adolescent.
Yes, they did the best they could.
And so you guys don't know this, but when we were on the way here, your grandfather, you're talking to your grandfather, is that the same grandfather that raised you into your adult life?
Yes, that's the same grandfather.
So of course they obviously have a better relationship now as he's gotten older and gotten more mature, and just on the ride down, we got to see some of that relationship kind of unfold. But can you tell me about your school life, or did you enjoy school? Were you kind of too cool for school? Were you?
Well, school was okay. It's like when I was younger, it was okay, but I played community basketball, league basketball. My 7th grade year, I tried out for basketball and didn't make the team. And then that's when I started progressively picking up marijuana.
So marijuana was your first drug?
Marijuana was my first drug.
There's a reason they call it the gateway drug, right? So
Yeah.
it's the gateway to other substance abuses. So you picked up marijuana, you said 8th grade?
8. 7th, the end of 7th up to 8th grade.
And so can you tell me, I'm very fortunate that I have never had to face marijuana. I've never smoked marijuana myself. But can you tell me a little bit about, what you were seeking from marijuana, or what you got out of marijuana, what it did for you,
I thought I was the cool kid in high school, Around that age and time, I thought, I was the cool kid. I thought nobody was going to stop me. I thought,
Just trying to fit in with everybody.
just trying to fit in, be that kid that fits in.
But you thought you were invincible at that age. You thought you were the bee's knees and that no one could tell you any differently.
Right, pretty much.
Okay, and so you did it to be cool or to be that kid, but what did you, I guess, get out of it? Did you? I mean, obviously you got high, right? But did you? Do you think that the high took away the pain? Do you think the high was just a pleasure thing? What was your high that you were chasing? What was the?
I was depressed in high school too. Like, I had a problem with finding girls, girlfriends, and I don't know, it just really depressed me, and plus I was like really quiet in high school too. I mean, I went to school several times with cuts on my arms and stuff like that from me cutting, and me having to go see people for that. I went to Riverbend. Riverbend is to help people with like depression and stuff like that.
So it's like psychiatric help.
Pretty much.
So psychiatric help facility to help children struggling with mental health.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty
so,
much.
So, so did it take away the pain? Do you feel like the marijuana took away the pain, or do you feel like you were always chasing a white horse or a white elephant that you could never get high enough to take away the pain?
It numbed it a little bit, but not as much numbing as I wanted.
Did it make you more anxious?
Yeah, yeah, you could say that.
So,
it just made me real mellow and just like wanna be lazy and like sit on the couch and not get up and go get a job, or you know.
And how did your grandfather feel about this, or did he know? Or did you do this in secrecy, or did he know?
Well, he didn't know until like 10th grade year when I started being defiant, and I walked around back, and I got to light it up, because I'm around back smoking and I'm just trying to hide it. Mm-hmm. Well, about that time, my grandpa comes around back. He's like, I don't know what you think you're doing. You don't run nothing around here. And he takes the joint that I had rolled up, and he took it out of my hands and he stomped it on the ground. And he said, "Don't ever bring that crap back to my house again." I'm like, okay, then I'll leave. But at the time, I'm like, I was a defiant kid. I just didn't want to listen.
So you went like 3 years without your grandparents knowing?
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how you were exposed to marijuana? Was it friends, or did somebody just randomly come up to you, or what was your exposure point? Do you believe where you first experienced or encountered marijuana?
High school. Well, actually, no. My brother.
So your brother is older than you.
Yeah, my brother.
So he had obviously gotten it from someone and wanted to share it with you and expose you to it.
Pretty much.
Okay. And so
not trying to write my brother out or nothing.
That's okay. We all.
He's an awesome guy.
He's an awesome guy. He actually came through this past encounter too. His name is Tyler.
Yeah.
But Tyler actually was my participant, so it was very funny because Ryan and I are very much like brothers, and Tyler and Anthony were brothers. So it was a very awesome weekend.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, but so can you kind of tell me down the progression or kind of the trail that you walked, for say, or the path that you took? Like obviously, you said, and maybe you haven't shared this, but your drug of choice eventually became methamphetamine, right?
Yes, but that's not the worst that I've done. I had dabbled with heroin before too.
So you dabbled with a few others, but you found that your drug of choice was methamphetamine.
Methamphetamine.
What made you progress from weed to the other drugs, the harder drugs?
Okay. So, straight out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say roughly about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm 23 now, so
About 4 years ago.
about 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
ago. About 4. Anyways, I was just wanted to fit in with my other side of my family. My other side of the family, I didn't really ever go and talk to and until I just started eventually going over there and wanting to pick up what they were doing, just trying to fit in. Once again, just trying to fit in. That has always been my problem, just trying to fit in. I started fitting in the wrong crowds. I started running with the devil, and instead of running with God, like I used to be, I was running with the devil, and it
took you down a rabbit hole.
It did, most definitely. It made me do things I never thought I would ever have done in my life.
Yeah.
So that's where I really want to hone in on tonight's message. Is regardless of what the addiction is, addiction takes you further than you ever want to go.
Yeah, and you don't even realize you're addicted until you're at that point.
Until you're at that point, chasing the next, and
then you realize, it's ruined your life. And
right. So you obviously were trying to fit in, right? And I want to warn again. I want to warn our audience. I hear that very often. I have a jail ministry. And I hear these testimonies of these people who have ended up in jail because of bad decisions that they've made. They catch a drug charge, they catch a possession charge, whatever it is. And I don't know the statistical analysis of it, but I would say, a good majority of the portion, it all started with they were in high school trying to fit in. They found this crowd. They were trying to impress this crowd. And like you said, they didn't realize that addiction had taken them so far until it was too late, until they were looking back and they had life regrets, saying, "What am I doing with my life?" And I would say a good portion of those they say, if I could go back and I could turn the clock back, and I could turn back. Most of them know, and I'm assuming the exact moment of your life that you took the crossroads when you started making the bad decisions and started walking down that path. And would you agree with that? That that moment in time?
I would.
So that's why I want to, warn our audience members is, there is no time clock. There is no time warping machine. There is no time machine.
No Uno reverse card.
There's no Uno reverse card, right? This is, you only get one lifetime, right? So I kind of want you to tell us how these substances affected your life. Like, did they affect your relationships? Did they affect your friendships? Did they affect... obviously, you got some time under your belt. You got busted up with the law. Can you kind of walk us through how these decisions in your life affected your day-to-day life? Like, can you kind of tell us the things that unfolded because of your life decisions?
Okay, so... I don't know where to start. Okay, yes I do. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with the second one. I jumped in a car with some guys that stole a vehicle, and that's when my life, when I was not caring the most, I jumped in the car and police got behind us. Well, anyways, the driver backs into the police car at a red light and then takes off. Anyways, we go all the way around. Anyways, more or less, we stole the car and then we ran into a house. We didn't even know if anybody was in the house or not. I mean, it looked abandoned, but anyways.
And I do want to. He's having a hard time kind of sharing this, and I just want to tell you that's okay.
Yeah.
We're not trying to open up any wounds here. And if you're not comfortable, that's okay. We are just trying to. That's your past life. That old man is dead, right? That they tell you this at the encounter, right? That old man is dead, right? Everyone has a past. Everyone has a part of them. Their skeletons in their closet, right? The skeletons in the closet. And so what we're not trying to do is I understand that a lot of this can be very difficult, and we just want you to let you know that we are okay with the time that you're taking. So you can take the time that you need, and they will understand that too. So I'm not trying to interrupt. I was just trying to let you know. I know some of this can be difficult. So,
But anyways, back to what I was saying. I ran into the cops pull us out of the vehicle. We end up going to jail. I did 2 weeks in there, and then I got bonded out, and then.
So what were you charged with those charges? What did the cops charge you with?
Well, they theft or joyriding, pretty much is what they call it in Alabama, joyriding. But
there was no drug charges on that event.
No drug charges on that event. I've never caught any drug charges before, but I've done them.
Right.
That was at the time, around the times that I were doing them the worst.
But you were under the influence of substances during this time.
Most definitely.
So it's safe to say that your judgment was probably pretty lapsed in those moments.
Yeah, I was shooting a needle in my veins.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So obviously that's one particular story, but I would assume that it's pretty safe to say that during the time of your being under the influence of these substances, that it was very hard to make decisions that resulted in anything good coming from you. Right?
Rational decisions.
Right. So most of your decisions were pretty erratic, and they were pretty reckless. This is just me not understanding, but I'm just trying to understand. Would that be pretty safe to say that that was kind of your lifestyle during those times?
Yeah, the drugs just make you not care. They
you
just
can't think clearly
at all.
Yeah.
It fogs your head up.
And I kind of want to hone in on the relationships. How did the drugs affect your immediate relationships with your family and just your friends?
So this is during the time after your grandfathers kicked you out, right?
Yeah.
So obviously that took a strain on your, let's just call them your parental guardians, because although they were not your biological parents, they were your parental guardians, right? So that obviously put a strain on that relationship. But did you have any other relationships, or did you have any other people that you got estranged because of the substance abuse?
Could you help me understand what you're...
Yeah, so was there maybe a girlfriend? Was there uncles, cousins, nephews?
What about you and your brother at that time?
Or your brother, yeah, that you became distant because of the substance abuse?
Okay, people that I've hurt during it?
Okay, yeah, certainly. You can certainly...
Okay, well... I was straight out of high school. This is the next charge that, I feel more comfortable opening up about.
Okay. And that's okay.
Because it was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
It was a domestic violence charge. I was just really controlling. I was a controlling, what you would call a controlling freak, pretty much. And what led me to be controlling was her, like, cheating on me a couple of times, I'm talking about me and my girl, at the time, this high school sweetheart, girl of my dreams, never thought I would ever lose her, silly me, being 3 months in a relationship, I thought we were going to be together the rest of my life, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really understand. I was like, this is my longest relationship, so I must be doing something right here. What? You know what? Alcohol started coming in. Yeah. Drugs started coming in. And when I started taking Xanaxes, that Xanaxes made me really controlling. They made me the person I was not. The person that I never thought I would be. And I just lashed out on her. I got tired of her cheating on me. She kept telling me, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. I'm like, I said okay several times, I let her go. Didn't say nothing. Well, she was kind of, the time that, right before I finna get locked up, the night she was wanting to go hang out with her friends, I had already kind of got on her phone and seen a guy that she was talking to, and where she had said that she was going to go to her friend's house and then meet up with him there. And that's when it all went down.
And it got out of control.
It got way out of proportion.
So, we don't have to go into too much detail, but I'm assuming there was a fight. There was probably...
I did 13 months in Lauderdale County.
And so, were you the only one charged in that incident, or was the mister, was he charged as well? Was the girlfriend charged, or was any other person charged?
Yeah, she was not charged.
Okay, so you were the only one charged in that certain circumstance. Yeah. Again, I cannot speak some.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you did 13 months, and that I'm assuming that was probably assault or domestic violence or something of that nature.
Domestic violence, strangulation.
Okay. And so when you're in Lauderdale County, unless there's some corruption going on, there's no drugs, right? It's all contraband, right? So were you exposed to drugs in Lauderdale County?
In the jail?
Yes, in the jail. Or was that a time that you were kind of forced to be sober?
Pretty much be sober.
Okay.
When it came in, I'm not gonna lie, I dabbled with it. If somebody come in from the jail and they had it, and of course you would have to buy it.
So what was so you said you dabbled in it, but what was the longest stint during that stay that you were sober? Or was there not a single stint that you were sober?
Oh, I was sober for, 8 months, 9 months.
The majority.
So the majority. So
yeah.
So was the sobriety the first half or the second half? So like did you
first?
So you were sober the first half, and then as you got closer and closer to getting out, you became more reliant on that substance again.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any other? And again, you don't have to go too deep. You only share as what you want. But so you obviously had relationship problems with your guardians. You had relationship problems with your significant other. was there a time that you began to realize, and maybe there's more relationships, but was there a relationship, or was there a time that you began to realize that it was the substance that was causing the dysfunction in the relationships? Or had you, like we said, have you already stepped too far into your addiction that you were fooling yourself?
Throughout, okay. I don't know how to answer that.
Like, at what point in time did you start to realize that you needed to get clean?
Around what time did I realize?
Mm-hmm. Like, what caused
What was
you
the
to want to get
what was
clean?
the change in scenery, or what was the single handle event, or what was the thing
When I
said?
when I started losing all of my family.
So it like pushed you away from all your family and everything.
It pushed me, yeah, to the point where I was pretty much having to go to rehab just to have somewhere to lay my head, because I refused to sleep on the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it got to the point. So
But I did jump to house. You know, I have done that before. Like, jump to different, like, trap house to trap house. You know,
right.
Just
pretty much.
Find a place to stay.
Pretty much.
But so the way I'm understanding it is, eventually the substance abuse separated all of your relationships. It wasn't this one or just two. It was eventually all of them were
Pretty much
separated because of the substance.
So you had to hit rock bottom to realize, you know, I need to change something.
That's it.
Yeah.
So can you kind of walk us through what your sobriety looked like? So
Yeah.
I know some people who, of course, they say, like, I could just make it through this day, and I can face tomorrow, or I can just make it through this meal. So a little bit about myself, I struggle with pornography, very, very hard, very deep addiction to pornography. And for me, it wasn't just, I'm going to stop pornography, and I stopped pornography.
It's a day-by-day walk.
Well, and I would even say for me, it was if I can just make it through breakfast without watching pornography, if I can just make it to lunch without watching pornography. And eventually, those spans of time became longer and longer and longer and longer, to eventually, I weaned myself off the addiction. But can you walk us through how your addiction sobriety looked like? You know, what was it, step by step, day by day, or was it something happened, maybe you went to jail again, or I just kind of want to walk through what your sobriety looked like.
Yeah. What was the process of it?
It was most definitely day by day. It was a day by day process, you know.
So you woke up one day and you said, all my family's gone, and that was the thought that made you think that you need to get clean.
Pretty much.
So you mentioned rehab, but so were you in rehab when you had that thought, or were you living in a trap house, or living house to house, or?
That was before I picked up the phone and I called rehab. That at that moment in time that I had thought about it, like a couple nights before, you know, I went to rehab. You know, I had got saved, and I didn't get saved. I got baptized at my church,
The Father's house, right?
the Father's
In
house,
Florence.
and then right after, a couple months after, you know, I was doing clean. I was being clean, you know, staying clean, and then, boom, you know,
It went downhill again.
But so you're saying the thing that changed your mind was you met Jesus. You had a relationship with Jesus.
Yes.
That was the pinnacle that changed your I guess your outlook
I
on
said,
life.
hey, I can't let the devil run me no more. I see You know, because I only had picked up back up marijuana. I think I'd smoked it like once or twice, and then I told myself, "Hey, I got to go to rehab because
before you get back to where you were before."
I see where I'm going now, and it's not going the right way. I need to get back on track.
Now, did you get saved? Was it during that revival that they had going on? 9 weeks, it was.
Yeah. It was during the revival.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually on heroin when I got baptized that night. So my youth pastor was like, he was like, because he had to come back there and talk to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you were so high on heroin, you couldn't even pay attention. You were out of it 1 minute, and you were talking to me, and you were out of it again. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry for that.
Now, at what point did you get saved during that? Like, what made you want to get saved?
It's just
So was it in the business we call it the altar call, right? The conviction. So was it where you just sitting there and you kind of felt it in your heart, like a pull towards?
yeah, pretty much.
The Holy Spirit pulling at you.
Yeah, everything the preacher was saying,
And it felt like
right
it was
on
going
point.
right
on point, and I'm like, it's time to go. It's time to go.
Yeah.
So you went to rehab,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you shared pre-show that you're trying to turn away from all addiction, including pornography, and that you have been clean from pornography 7 days. I really want to applaud you for that.
Yeah.
But can you tell us how long have you been clean from the illicit drugs? Like how long have you been sober?
Well, including marijuana.
Yes, for marijuana too.
Going on 5 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. So I don't want to cut you short. We are pretty close to time here.
Was there anything else that you wanted to share? Like any high point?
I mean, we'll give time to time as needed.
Yeah.
So if there's more you want to share with the audience, by all means.
How did the encounter change your life? I want to hit on that too.
Yeah, well, okay, that's fair.
Like you went to the encounter, you got the call the night before, right? Who called you?
Actually, my youth pastor did.
Is it Eric Grigsby? Is that him?
Yeah,
Eric? Yeah. He
Yeah.
called you that before?
yes, sir, he did.
And so was it kind of like, hey, you need to go to this, or was it kind of, are you going to this? What was that call like? What was it? Did he kind of put it in your court to go, or was he saying you're going to this? Or
No, he's like, hey, bud, you want to go to the encounter? I'm like,
What's that?
yeah, sure, why not? Because my brother said he's going to. I'm like, well, what are we going to be doing there? He's like, I can't tell you. And I'm like, okay. Well, do what I need. So, he tells me what I need. I pack my stuff. And then I'm over here, like, stressed out. I'm like, I wonder if these people are going to take me out here and try to kill me or something.
This is a cult.
Yeah, this is a cult. And I'm like, no. I'm like, and then when I got there, like, God set me free,
That's awesome.
from a lot of stuff that I had been carrying over my shoulders, all that weight, it's been lifted off of me.
I don't want to speak for Ryan here, but this is the same answer that we get every time we ask about somebody encounter, right? So we have not paid you to say that or anything, right? We just want to make sure for the audience.
Most definitely not.
20 under the table.
Yeah.
If you go to an encounter, you will be changed.
Yeah, God has something in store for everyone.
And that's why we promote that ministry so hard in this ministry. And Ryan and I got to see the freedom that you got
firsthand
on that weekend. It was amazing. It was amazing. But I'm really grateful that you came and you were a guest on this show.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
It's been an absolute honor and a privilege to have you, and I hope we can have you again one day. And when you're definitely more on this road of sober, and one day, you take it a day at a time, but one day you're going to have more sober time than you had influence time, and that's what we call influence time or sober time. And I can't wait for that day. I can't wait for the joy on your face when you can say, I've been more sober than I have been influenced, right?
And we're happy for you now.
Yeah, 5 months is nothing. That is not nothing. I want to firsthand and say, I want to congratulate you, because that takes a strong man to realize that you need to turn around and get right and be clean. So I don't want anyone to downplay 5 months. Okay, so there may be some naysayers, there may be some haters out there.
If they do, I'll tell you this much. If they want to downgrade me, that's not going to stop me.
Well, that's the attitude.
I'm on the road to God. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But we want to give an opportunity for the audience. If your guys are struggling with addiction of any sort,
don't give up. Never lose hope.
Yeah, even
and
if you
always
fall,
have
pick
faith.
yourself back up.
I couldn't have said it better myself, but we want you to know that we're here for you, and all of us, we have dealt with addiction of our own flavor. We've dealt with the roads and the estrangments that addiction has caused. But if you're dealing with addiction, I encourage you, get the help. Like you said, there's professional help out there.
Yeah.
And email us at the unqualifiedcommission@gmail.com. We will happily sit down, and if any resources that we know, we will happily send them your way. If there's any facilities or anything, I will spend day and night looking up resources if you're serious about getting clean. But I'm very grateful again that you've came and been on our show, and I look forward to what the Lord has in store for you, and I cannot wait to the things and the seeds that you get to plant, and the ministries that you get to create, now walking down the straight and narrow. But this has been Corey.
This is Ryan.
And this is Anthony.
And this has been the Unqualified Commission Podcast. We'll see you next time.